Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Dear listener, today is the second sermon on Maha Parinibbana Sutta. Today we have to start with 6 further conditions leading to welfare of a community. Especially Lord Buddha proclaimed to Sangha. So I think as lay people, you also can practice these qualities, these conditions in your day-to-day life to the welfare of your community. The Lord Buddha has proclaimed, dear monks, 6 further conditions leading to welfare I shall set forth. Listen and pay heed to what I shall say. The monk replied, as so be it, Lord. Then again, the growth of the bhikkhus, that means monks, is to be expected, not their decline, so long as they attend on each other with loving kindness, indeed, word and thought, both openly and in private, so long as in respect of what they receive as due offerings. Even the contents of their alms bowls, they do not make use of them without sharing them without virtuous members of the community. So long as in company with their brethren, they train themselves openly and in private in the rules of conduct, which are complete and perfect, spotless and pure, liberating, praised by the wise, unifluent and favorable to concentration of mind, and in company with their brethren, preserve openly and in private the insight that is noble and liberating, and leads one who act upon it to the utter destruction of suffering. So long, monks, as these 6 conditions leading to welfare endure among the Sangha, the bhikkhus, and the bhikkhus are known for it. Their growth is to be expected, not their decline. What are those? We need to practice the loving kind. We need to practice the works with a proper loving kindness. We need to in the public and private also, and we need to practice loving kindness words, metta words, in public and private times also. And we need to practice the loving kindness thoughts in the public and the private times to our community, to our neighbors, to our relatives, and we shall share everything with our community. Like everything means at least some. If you make some good food, share with others. Like that way, those kind of things lead you your further growth, not beyond decline. So after that, again, Lord Buddha is telling, and the blessed one living at Rajagaha, at the hill called Vulture's Peak, often gave counsel to bhikkhus thus, such and such is virtue. Lord Buddha is telling the Dhamma in the Rajagaha, how such and such is virtue, such and such is concentration, and such is wisdom. Great become the fruit, great the gain of concentration when it is fully developed by virtuous conduct. And again, great become the fruit, great is the gain of wisdom when it is fully developed by concentration, utterly freed from the trains of lust, existence, and ignorance is the mind that is fully developed in wisdom. Those are, in that time, Lord Buddha was proclaiming the Dhamma. This is the virtue, how someone can be virtue. That means the 5 precepts, and for the monks, lots of rules. He's proclaiming the precepts. This is the virtue. This is how someone can be virtue, separate by killing beings, telling lies, stealing, sexual misconduct, taking intoxicants, and separate from some entertaining things. So that is how someone can be virtue. And such is concentration. We can, for the concentration, Lord Buddha had proclaimed the Satara Satipatthana. There is more than 20 meditations to concentrate ourselves. And such is wisdom. This is how someone can develop their wisdom. This is Sammaditthi. If someone practice and develop the virtuous, fully develop his virtues, that leads to a great concentration with great consequences and favorable consequences. And if someone fully develops the concentration, it causes him to great wisdom with great consequences. But the fully developed wisdom leads him to freed from trains of lust. Lust means not only the normal lust, the desires to the visuals, sounds, smells, tastes, tangibles, and the concept of existence and ignorance in the mind. So dear ones, when we talk about karmasava, the fermentation of sensual pleasures, when we talk about karma means, Lord Buddha has proclaimed, Ishta Kanta Manapa Piyarupa Kamupa Sanghita Rajaniya Chakuvinyaya Rupa. That means there is some, I need to highlight only, there's a word Chakuvinyaya Rupa. There is pleasant and making desires, making attachments, but what some kind of visuals, but it's not normal visuals. He's talking about Chakku Vinyaya Rupa. The visuals what can experience by the cognition of eye. The visuals what can experience by cognitions. Chakku Vinyaya Rupa, by eye consciousness. Not only the normal visuals. The desires to sounds also not the real sound. You always experiencing what the reflection of sound, what reflected in our mind as a thing. It also need to understand by the cognition. Smells also same, tastes also same, tangibles also same, need to experience by cognitions. Once I will tell you a small example. When I tell you to stay in present moment without going to past or the future, you maybe practice there is an actual past, but for this time I avoid the actual past, and I'll stay in present moment. Or you will think there is an actual future, an established future, but for now I will abandon the future, or I will avoid the future for this time. But it is wrong. If we think about an actual past or actual future, he just not come to the wisdom. Actual past and future, there is no actual past or actual future. There is always a present moment. Always have living. Just living. Just alive. Just awareness in present moment. So you should know, as another example, now you are breathing and breathe out. Someone can, I like to say you, there is two kind of breathings. Why? Two kind of breath. Why? One kind is the mind knowing breath. Another one is mind unknowing breath. Once you're in a deep sleep, there is also have a breath. But when I talk to you about the breath, for these few minutes, you didn't have any idea about breath. But just now, when you listen the word of the breath, your mind shows you a breath and a person who experiences it. Breath and me, breath and body, breath and nose, like that. Internal and external. But once you're in a deep sleep, there is also a physical breath is there, but it's not a mind knowing physical breath. But now, in the conscious time, if you think about the breath, It is just a conceiving what is in our mind. Because why? Once you think about the breath, once you pay your attention to the breath is over. The idea of breath becomes after you got a cognition of your breath. Now you are breathing, you have a cognition that I am breathing. And after a work of that idea of breathing, secondly, mind shows you, here's the breath, and the breath was, I was experiencing the breath. The breathe out also same. You are thinking there's an established breath, but it becomes after you got an idea, after you got a cognition of breath. So we don't talk about the physical things. We talk about the things what catch to our attention. Because why? The physical things will not make any sense. Because Buddhism always focused on our experience, because the suffering and the stress become in present moment as inner cognition, as a consciousness, nothing else. So we should focus our mind in experiences, in cognitions, in consciousness. Because suffering or stress arise in a consciousness, arise in a cognition. There is no cognition if you are in a deep sleep. There is no suffering, there is no stress. The whole Buddhism focused on overcoming from the stress and suffering. When you pay attention to your breath, you are thinking, I am breathing, I am breath out. Already you conceive the duality. After that, you conceive, if I cognize or not, the breath is working. It is very, very deep Dhamma hint. Try to understand properly. Now you are breathing and breathe out, but you are thinking, if I cognize or not, breathing is working. Breath is working. I'll tell you, it is like that. It is like this. How? Once you go to in front of a mirror, you can see your face. After that, you will go somewhere else, and again you are thinking in somewhere else. Now I am in another place, but still my reflection is on the mirror. I'll tell it again. Once you look at your face in the mirror, then you go somewhere else. Then from that place, you are thinking, still my reflection is on the mirror. Like that way. If I mention your children or your parents, that is just a cognition. That is just a cognition of I, or cognition of ear, or cognition of body, or cognition of your mind. Nothing else. Once you got a cognition from those, then your mind is conceiving. There is an independent boy, or my children, or my parents, and independent I am. But he don't know that duality creates in his mind in this very moment. But he's thinking, if I cognized or not, my child is living, my parents are living. It is like he think about the mirror after he go out from the mirror. Still, I'm reflecting on it. This is not physics or science. Why I am telling like this? I'll tell you an example. There is a robot who has an artificial intelligence. He can think, I am living in the world. But if he think or not, I'll tell you, Robert can't think about this. Because why? Robert can't say, I am in a real world. Because why? Robert always experiencing data. Data what comes from the cameras, data what comes from microphones, what comes from the sensors, and data what processing in his programming. So this is the actual thing. Like that way, same to us. Please take this as your life theme. That is, everything is eye visual sounds, nose smells, tongue tastes, body tangibles, mind and thoughts. Nothing else. Everything is these 12. Nothing else. So if Robert think about the world, that is just a data, what arised in his programming. Like the same way, if we think about our child, or if we think about our parents, that is like thinking my reflection is still in my mirror. Because it is just a thought. If you thinking my child is really existing, that is just a thought. Anytime you can't experience the child, you always experience a visual, or you always experience a sound, or you always experience a tangible, or you experience a thought, nothing else. Everything is these 12. So when we fulfill the wisdom, there is no place to exist for the lust, for the desires. I'll tell you a small trick to use in your day-to-day life. One problem we can see, that is, we always fooled into sensual pleasures, and we always enslaved to sensual pleasures. We need to, some Buddhists need to vacate from the sensual pleasures, need to avoid them, but they can't do it. They couldn't do it. So that Lord Buddha asked us to comprehend firstly the joy of sensual pleasures, and he asked us to comprehend the disadvantages of sensual pleasures, and he asked us to relinquish and abandon the sensual pleasures. So if we see someone, this is a small exercise you can do in your day-to-day life. When you watch television, when you watch something in YouTube or a movie, first you can rejoice a little with keep the mindfulness a little back and just try to rejoice that, to experience it. Oh, now you can experience the pleasant sensation. You love it, you craved it, you grasp it, you cling to that. After that, you can, as a trick, you can watch the starting and the middle and the final of the sensual pleasures. If you got a pleasant sensation, it will not last long, more than 5-6 seconds. Of one sensual pleasure, it just maybe in I'm talking about normal experiences, not about the sensation. Normally, if we, as an example, if we look at a film or a movie, you can take for one, we can take as a dance in a one step, in someone doing a one step, we can have some kind of sensation, feeling. After another act, we can have another kind of the pleasant level is little changing. So in one pleasant sensation, like 3 seconds, 4 seconds, we can watch, we can insight the starting of the sensation, and the continuing of the sensation, and the ceasing of the sensation. Then again another sensation arise, starting, staying, going. As a small practice and exercise, you can practice this in your day-to-day life. While you watch television, while you watch movies, you can use this. Look the arising, continuing, and passing. Like 3 seconds to 3 seconds, like 4 seconds to 4 seconds, maybe 2 seconds to 2 seconds, maybe sensations. You can, when your mindfulness become more and more powerful, you can contemplate on very less time, like 1 second, half seconds, like that way. For now, like 3 seconds, 4 seconds, you can watch the starting, continuing, and the cessation of your sensual pleasures. So then you will understand the sensual pleasures are impermanent. Now you are knowing the sensual pleasures are impermanent, but it is not your own comprehension. So you need to comprehend it by yourself as your own comprehension. For that, when you look like that, you can understand it is changing, it is impermanent, and it goes to suffer. I can't continue it as I wish. And that sensation is in the condition of changing. So once you understand those disadvantages, you can abandon the sensual pleasure by your own wish. Oh, I don't know, I don't need these sensual pleasures. I can abandon them. You can abandon them from your own mind. So practice in your day-to-day life. However, once your wisdom fulfilled, there is no place to sensual desires. There is no place to concept of existence, the world and me. There is only knowing. There is only understandings, cognitions. To understand, as another exercise, I can preach you for the understanding of becoming. Once you breathe in, you can understand that the mind creates you a duality. Oh, here's the breath, here's the nose, the tangible and body. Breath and nose, tangible and body. Now, close your eyes and try. Once you breathe in, mind shows you the breath and nose. When you breathe out, mind again shows you breath and nose. Keep your mindfulness on that tangible, the air going through your nose inside. Once you contemplate on that sensation, that feeling, that experience, your mind shows you the breath and nose. Once you practice again and again, your comprehension will empower to, it will shows you it is not a real nose and air, nose and breath. Once I comprehend it as breath and nose, it also a thought and mind. When I talk about when I'm breathing, if I telling this is breath and nose, it is just a thought and mind. Yeah, if I talk about breath, it is a thought. It's a thought and mind. If I think about the nose, it's a thought and mind. Because why? After that cognition, after that, once they are going through your nose, there is a cognition in your body. But your mind shows you again a nose and breath. That is a mind and thought. Then you can comprehend it as practice it as mind and thought again and again. So once you practice like this way, finally you can comprehend once you breathe in, it is just a cognition, it is just a consciousness, it is just a cognition without an observer and without an observing thing. That is infertile cognition is there. Once you breathe out, there is also infertile cognition without an observer and observing thing. Lord Buddha also proclaimed in his Salayatana Prabhu in Satipatthana Sangyutta, Satipatthana Sutta, Chakkunja pajanati rupeja pajanati. And I also understand, the visuals also understand like that. You can, body also understand, tangible also understand like that, nose and breath. So once you practice nose and breath, you may feel as mind and thought. Once you practice mind and thought, you may understand the deepest way that this is just a cognition. As it is in the breath, you can compare it with the all kind of experiences. Once you see something, it is also visual and eye. That means once I talking about visual, it is a mind and thought. If I think about visuals are there. It is a thought and the mind. When you practice as thought and mind, you will take an idea. Mind and thought also a preparation of the mind. The actual thing is if I in the 100% present moment, that is just a cognition. However, in this way, he will free from the concept of existence, bhava, and the ignorance. Ignorance means taking those things as established and independent things. That is why Lord Buddha has proclaimed the consciousness is an illusion, because it's always reflecting a name and form, and it shows you the external things as an established and independent things. But as humans, we can't talk about independent things without our cognitions. The cognition makes the world. The consciousness makes the world for us. If we think about world is really existing, it is also just a thought. If you debate in your inside of your mind, it is also thoughts. So the Buddhism always focused in our inside. From our inside, we can find inner peace. However, when the Blessed One has stayed at Rajagaha as long as he pleased, he addressed the Venerable Ananda. Thus, come Ananda, let's go to Ambalattika. He said, so be it, Lord. Ambalattika means there is a mango garden. However, and the Blessed One took up his abode at Ambalattika together with a large community of bhikkhus. At Ambalattika, the Blessed One came to stay in the king's rest house, and there are two. The Blessed One often gave counsel to bhikkhus, thus, again, such and such is virtue, such and such is concentration, such and such is wisdom. Great becomes fruit. Great is the gain of concentration when it is fully developed by virtuous conduct. Great becomes fruit. Great is the gain of wisdom when it is fully developed by concentration. Utterly freed from the trains of lust, existence, and ignorance is the mind. Is the mind that is fully developed in wisdom. When the Blessed One had stayed at Ambalattika as long as he pleased, he addressed the Venerable Ananda thus, come Ananda, let us go to Nalanda. So be it, Lord, he replied. And the Blessed One took up his abode at Nalanda together with a large community of bhikkhus, and came to stay in the mango grove of Pavarika. So in that time, Venerable Sariputta, when the Venerable Sariputta went to the Blessed One, respectfully greeted him, sat down at one side and spoke thus to him. This faith, Lord, I have in the Blessed One, that there has not been, there will not be, nor is there now another recluse or Brahman more exalted in enlightened than the Blessed One. He's telling, I can tell there is no one in the past, there is no one will be in the future, there is no one in the present more than enlightened to you. He's praising the Lord Buddha with his faith. Then Lord Buddha replied, lofty indeed is the speech of yours, Sariputta. and lordly, a bold utterance, a very a veritable sounding of the lion's roar. But how is this Sariputta? Those arahants, fully enlightened, one of the past, do you have direct personal knowledge of those blessed ones as to their virtue, their meditation, their concentration, their wisdom, their binding, and their emancipation? The Venerable Sariputta said, no, so Lord. Now, Venerable Sariputta praising the Lord Buddha, then he's asking, how can you do this lion's roar? Did you see the past Buddha's mind by your mind, by the Parachita Vijnana? Then how can you say like that? Then again, Lord Buddha asking, then how is this Sariputta? Those arahants, fully enlightened ones of the future, do you have direct personal knowledge of those blessed ones as to their virtue, their concentration, their wisdom, their binding, and their emancipation? No, so Lord, he replied. Then again, then how is Sariputta? How is this Sariputta for me, who am at present the Arahant, the fully enlightened one? Do you have direct personal knowledge as to my virtue, my concentration, my wisdom, my binding, and my emancipation? Not so, Lord, he replied. Then Lord Buddha again asking, then it is clear, Sariputta, that you have no such direct personal knowledge of the Arahants, the fully enlightened ones of the past, the future, and the present. How then dare you set forth a speech of lofty and lordly, an utterance so bold, a veritable sounding of the lion's roar, saying, this faith, Lord, I have in the blessed one that there has not been, there will not be, no, there are now another recluse or Brahman more exalted in enlightenment than the blessed one. In that time, the Venerable Sariputta replied, no such direct knowledge, personal knowledge, indeed. Is mine, Lord, of the Arahants, the fully enlightened ones of the past, the future, and the present, and yet I have come to know the lawfulness of the Dhamma. Suppose, Lord, a king's fortress was strongly fortified with strong ramparts of torrents. That means a huge wall. In the past times, the kings was in huge, huge towns. Those towns was guarded by huge walls. So there's huge walls, and it is now Venerable Sariputta telling an example, a comparison to understand this. How can he imagine like that? And it had a single gate, and there was a gatekeeper, so intelligent, experienced, and prudent, who would keep out the stranger but allow the friend to enter. As he patrols the path that leads all around the fortress, he does not perceive a hole of fissure in the ramparts even big enough to allow a cat to slip through. In that wall, there is no way to go into the town, at least for a cat. For a cat also can't go to that town because that much the town is so guarded. Only there is one gate to enter. In the same way, so he comes to the conclusion, whatever grossly living things are to enter or leave the city, they will all have to do so just by this gate. In the same way, Lord, I have come to know the fullness of the Dhamma. So, if the whole town guarded by a great wall, there is only a one gate, then if someone need to enter or go out, leave, he just have a one way, that is through the gate. Like that way, Lord Venerable Sariputta is telling, followed all the blessed ones, arahants, fully enlightened ones of the past, and abandoned the five hindrances, the mental defilements that weaken wisdom, had well established their minds in the four foundations of mindfulness, that means Satara Satipatthana, had duly cultivated the seven factors of enlightenment, Sapta Bojjhanga, and were fully enlightened in unsurpassed supreme enlightenment, as same as the future ones, as same as the present Lord Buddha. So they all got the enlightenment by abandoning the five hindrances and five mental defilements, and established in his mind in four foundations of mindfulness, and fully cultivated the seven factors of enlightenment. That is the only way to attain the emancipation, attain the liberation. And also in Nalanda, in the mango grove of Pavarika, the Blessed One often gave a counsel to bhikkhus, thus, such and such is virtue, such and such is concentration, such and such is wisdom. Great becomes the fruit, the great becomes the grain of concentration when it fully developed by virtuous conduct. Great becomes the fruit, great becomes the gain of wisdom when it is fully developed by concentration. Utterly freed from the trains of lust, become the existence and ignorance is the mind that is fully developed wisdom. When the Blessed One had stayed at Nalanda as long as he pleased, he addressed the Venerable Ananda thus, "Come, Ananda, let us go to Pataligama," another place. "So be it, Lord," he replied. And the Blessed One took up his abode at Pataligama together with a large community of bhikkhus. Then he addressed of then the devotees of Pataligama came to know the Blessed One, they say, has arrived at Pataligama, and they approached the Blessed One respectfully, greeted him, sat down at one side, and addressed him thus: "May the Blessed One, Lord, kindly visit our council hall." And the Blessed One consented by his silence. Knowing the Blessed One's consent, the devotees of Pataligama rose from their seats, respectfully saluted him, and keeping their right sides towards him, departed from the council hall. When they prepared the council hall by covering the floor all over, arranging seats and water, and setting out an oil lamp, having done this, they returned to the Blessed One, respectfully greeted him, and standing at one side announced, "Lord, the council hall is ready, with the floor covered all over, seats and water prepared, and an oil lamp has been set out. Let the Blessed One come, Lord, at his convenience." And the Blessed One got ready, and taking his bowl and robe, went to the council hall together with the company of bhikkhus. After rising his feet on, the Blessed One entered the council hall and took his seat close to the middle pillar, facing east. The community of bhikkhus, after rising their feet, also entered the council hall and took seats near the western wall, facing east, so that the Blessed One was before them. And the devotees devotees of Patalikama, after rising their feet and entering the council hall, sat down near the eastern wall, facing west. So the Blessed One was in front of them. So however, this is the normal. For today, I suppose we can stop in this time. So the third part will end